If you're tired of spending hours every day analyzing potential investment properties, listen up, because I'm about to remove that roadblock for you by introducing you to the Backflip app. Not only does Backflip give you the ability to quickly analyze any property and at any time, it also allows you to apply for a loan with them directly through their app, which allows you to scale your business and do more profitable deals. It's a great tool because it instantly pulls all the data you need for a property, like the after repair value and the as is value. Plus, it gives you a curated list of high quality comps, and it's going to do that for you 60 times faster than if you were to go and do it by yourself by searching through the MLS or Zillow. So it's going to literally save you hours upon hours of work. And not only that, but the app will help you determine which strategy is the best fit for each particular property. So should you fix and flip it for a profit, or should you rehab it and rent it out? And so you'll immediately know if this particular property fits into your portfolio or if you should just move on to another deal. With Backflip, you're now going to be able to jump on good investments quickly and with confidence. So go down to the show notes of this show, click on the Backflip link, download the app, start analyzing your deals today, and work with Backflip to fund the next deal you do. How do I choose a market to invest in because where I live is too expensive? Man, oh man, if I haven't got this question at least a million times in the last couple of years, it's been 1,000,001. It's something I get very often. And so I wanted to address, how do we choose a market to invest in? And I understand the confusion with it because I always say you don't know what you don't know. And although choosing a market is just the first step in the equation, there's a lot of other things we got to know how to do after that. It is a big one. It's one of the key pillars that I look at of things you have to be able to do if you're going to buy real estate and be successful at it. You got to be able to choose a market. You got to be able to generate leads in that market. You got to be able to analyze the leads that you get. You got to be able to fund the good deals after you've analyzed them. Then you got to be able to manage the property, whether you're keeping it as a rental or you got to be able to manage the rehab on a fix and flip. And so choosing a market is very important. What you all have to understand is not every market is primed for every type of real estate transaction, like every type of transaction you could do. So what I mean by that is, like LA, probably not a great market for long-term rentals. Could you flip homes in LA? Probably so. I don't know. I don't live out there, but my guess is you could find some properties that you could make money on flipping, and then there's going to be other properties that lend itself, or other areas, markets that lend itself to Airbnbs. You look by the coast, homes may be more expensive, so they wouldn't lend themselves as a long-term rental. But if you Airbnb them out, they could cash flow you $1,000, $1,500 a month. And then there's other markets, Airbnb would not make a lick of sense, but they're fantastic long-term markets. And so today I want to talk about, how do we choose a market for long-term rentals? I first need to make it very clear that you do not have to live where you invest. You do not have to live where you invest. It's that simple. I have close to 200 at the time of this recording, 200 students in our community. And I would venture to say, I don't have my roster in front of me, that 60 to 70% invest out of state. It's just common. It's just what they have to do. We got people who live in LA. We got people who live in Austin, Texas, who live in New York, who live in expensive parts of Florida. And so they can't invest in their market. So they're either investing in a different part of their own state, or they're investing all the way across the country. And you say, man, that just seems scary. How in the world would you do that? Like, how in the world do you do that? Well, it depends. Like, how bad do you want to own rental properties? You either have to say, I'm going to move to where I can buy them, or you say, no, I like where I live. This is where I grew up. This is where my family's at. I can't make it make sense here, but I do want to add this asset to my portfolio that will completely change my life. Well, then you have to make the decision to say, I'm going to figure it out. And so what I've seen a lot of our students have done, what we teach, and what I think everybody should do to be able to find a long-term rental market is this, okay? You got to start with, who do you know in other parts of the country? Because it's easier to break into a market when you know somebody there. It's not impossible to do it if you don't. We'll talk about that in a minute. When I set out on my real estate journey 5 years ago, I wasn't exactly sure what the outcome was going to be, but I knew based on history that people who had bought this asset and held it over time, it had completely changed their lives. It had given them life-changing wealth. It had given them time freedom, and it had given them financial freedom. And I knew that I wanted that for myself and my family. Fast forward from 2018 to today, and it has completely changed our lives. It has completely changed my family tree because I said yes. I took that step forward into buying this asset that has proven itself time and time again for centuries. And so if you're still on the sidelines and you have yet to start buying real estate, or maybe you have a few properties, but you've ran into roadblocks and you haven't been able to scale and add the volume you needed to have that huge impact on your life, then I want to invite you into our Rental Academy community, where you're going to be linked up with investors all across the country. You're going to have coaching multiple times a week from myself and our entire panel of world-class coaches. You're going to be given all the knowledge and know-how that you need to be successful in real estate, the calculators, the templates, the guides, the lending partners, the insurance partners, the LLC partners, all of it. We're going to teach you everything you need to know to be successful in real estate investing. And then we're going to be there with you along the journey, hold your hand and guide you so that you can have the opportunity to reach and achieve financial freedom like I and so many of our students and people across the country have. So when you're ready to say yes, text the word WIN, W-I-N, to 871-861-9264. Set up a time to chat with myself or somebody on our team so that we can go on this journey with you and help you achieve the life of your dreams. But it's easier to break into a market when you know somebody that's there because they can help you make connections. Really, it's based on the networking. One of the most beautiful things about our community that just makes me smile every day when I'm in the Rental Academy and watching our students interact is there are students all over the country who now have formed these little groups, and they do their own little calls and text groups to buy in different areas. So there may be somebody who lives, for example, in Cleveland, Ohio. Well, somebody in LA is like, I want to buy in Cleveland, Ohio. So they'll hop on a call, them and 3 other investors from the Academy, and they'll put game plans together of how they can all buy in that market while the one person who lives there helps them out. And this happens in different markets that our students are in. And it's fun to watch for me because people come into our academy and we teach them how to break into markets and choose markets without piggybacking off of other students of ours. But it is so easy. Half of them don't even have to choose their own market because we already got people plastered all over the country and they can just piggyback off of them. And so it's really, really, really cool to see that. But what I think you have to do, where do you have somebody that you know who lives on the other part of the country? When I say the other part of the country, here's where I'm focusing in on: the Midwest and Southeast. So we're looking at Missouri, Ohio, Indiana, Kentucky, South Carolina, Georgia, Tennessee, North Carolina, those areas. And I'm leaving some out. You can hop on a map. Michigan, that whole area. Just draw a circle or a line around pretty much the entire Midwest, come down to the Southeast, probably stop before you get to Florida, go around South Carolina, North Carolina, and back up through the Midwest. And then say, do I know anybody there that lives anywhere? Start there, okay? If you don't, what I teach our students to do is look for micro cities within the whole Midwest, Southeast area. So when I say micro cities, okay, I'm not talking about the big cities like your Atlantas and your Charlottes. I'm talking about what are some of our growing areas, but they're not quite as big. So think of Greenville, South Carolina, Louisville, Kentucky, Lexington, Kentucky, Columbus, Ohio, Fort Wayne, Indiana, right? I just threw you a bunch of them right there, okay? The thing you have to understand is out of all those that I just said, and I could list off another 20 more, there's not really a right or wrong answer on where you should invest. You can choose any of those that I just told you and go build a strong rental portfolio. And so that's where we start with, okay, who do we know that's there? If you don't have a community like we do in the Rental Academy, where you can just ask somebody and they hook you up. Or if you don't have family and friends there, you can literally throw a dart around any of those little micro cities I just said and start getting to work. But the key thing is we have to nail down one of these areas. Okay. We got to pick one. So if you want to dig in and do data, look at data and see which one is on the up and up the most. I know the Southeast is booming right now. So you may say, you know what? I want to look more in the Southeast because there's potentially a greater opportunity for appreciation. Or you could say, you know what? I know the Midwest isn't going to appreciate maybe quite as much as some of these Southeastern towns right now, but there may be a little more cash flow there because the prices aren't rising as quick as they are in the Southeast. So just sit down, do your data. What cities are growing? Which ones are declining? Which ones have higher crime rates? You can pull all this stuff up on the Census Bureau online. Then once we choose one of those micro cities, we have to build out a team. And so I always say it's easiest to start with the realtor, right? Get with the realtor and investor-friendly realtors. Things we help our students do is, point them in the right direction of investor-friendly realtors, and then leverage networks from there. And, they can help you find properties. They can get you on wholesalers lists. They can tell you what neighborhoods, because once we choose a market, we still got to narrow down a neighborhood. You can say, well, I want to buy around Chattanooga, Tennessee. Well, great. Chattanooga is a big area. So how do we narrow that down even more? Well, I think the best way to do that, if you don't have a community of people like we do, is you need to get with a realtor, like I said, who can point you in that direction. Get on chat forums in that micro city, see and ask where other investors are investing. If you have the means and can do it, not necessary by any means, but hop on a plane, go to a local investor meetup that they have that month. There's lots of different things that you can do, but you have to start with choosing one of these micro cities and then get somebody with boots on the ground who understands the investment game, which is usually going to be a realtor and other investors. And so we've got to connect with them, get them to help us pinpoint the locations we need to be looking at. And then we put a game plan together to start generating leads and farming those areas. And the beautiful thing, and we harp on this a lot, is we don't have to have a bunch of different areas. I mean, we could choose one neighborhood, quote unquote. When I say neighborhood, call it 300 to 500 homes, one area, and farm that little spot without having to have, a whole team in Chattanooga and a whole team in Cleveland and a whole team in Fort Wayne, Indiana, and be trying to hit 3 to 4 different markets and manage all these people. Instead, we can focus in one market, hit one area, maybe 2 or 3 in that same market, where we can leverage the same property managers and the same rehab folks and handymen, the same, obviously, realtor helping us connect with a bunch of different investors in that area online and through reaching out and calling them and setting up Zoom calls, all different types of strategies. So if you guys will just focus in, micro city, build that team out. Hopefully you can piggyback off somebody else's. If not, build it out yourself, start farming, and you'll be able to mine properties and start adding them to your portfolio.